What is up, historians? Thank you for tuning in to Mana Rant episode 34, a historic podcast. We specialize in everything historic. That includes historic brawl as well. We are the Mana Dorks, and I'm going to change it up a little bit this week and introduce my co-host first, DrunkenDork.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Yeah, there is no silly intros. Hoshi is not here, and I'm taking advantage of that. I am tired of hearing about pink socks, kitty kitty meow meows. This shit is getting a little ridiculous. And as I mentioned, as you can see, we do not have Hoshi here with us. He was cast for the new horror movie, Leprechaun Returns. It's because he got an email and it was like, oh, we're casting you for a new big budget Hollywood movie, and it's because he closely resembles his height and his face.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's living his dream as an actor as the Leprechaun.
Yikes.
And finally, I am your host, Michael Apollo, and it's time to get your lucky clovers. It's time to get ready to go on an adventure. Cringy, I know.
Yikes.
But, because it's St. Patrick's Day. It is St. Patrick's Day. It's the day of green. It's the day of drinks. And that's something, drink-wise, at least we do very well. So how does our show work? We actually follow the phases of Magic. So we have our Untap, Upkeep, Draw, main phase 1. Combat, main phase 2. Discard, Cleanup. The whole thing. We all know how the phases of Magic work. But our main topics for tonight, we have our Reddit Rant. We have something new that we're going to do for main phase, something I wanted to change up. Some comments that we got online from Mythwin specifically talking about meta and the gauntlet, as a lot of Magic players like to say, some top tier strategies in the actual historic format. So we're going to talk a little bit more on not the fringe side of things, but the more competitive side of things in that main phase. And then as the weeks continue on, comments will be greatly appreciated, how we can fine-tune that. And then, of course, we have our horseshit card game and the combat. And main phase 2, we're talking about the historic Shakeup. So if you want to skip ahead at any point in time to any of those specific topics, go ahead and feel free to do so if you're listening on YouTube via the annotations listed below. But just like you start every game of Magic, we start with our untap step. And that is where we untap a drink of our choice.
Sweet.
So I'm not wearing green. I'm drinking something. Or at least green can. This is Modelo Samichalada Limon y Sal. So I'm going. It's getting a little hot. I mean, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, so summer comes quick. It has been a little cold, but today was actually very nice, and I'm really excited to drink something nice and crisp and refreshing. Drunken. What about you?
I mean, I'd say it's getting warm here, but it's relative to Seattle. So it's getting warm here is, I think it's in the 50s now, which is nice. Better than the 30s and 20s. Yes. I'm drinking peanut butter and death. And it's basically just peanut butter stout. It's just really high in alcohol, I believe. But fine by me. And nice. Appropriately in my Black Mana. Yeah.
I like it. Well, cheers to you, buddy. Cheers to you all out there. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Please be safe and have fun at the same time. All right, that is our untap step. Now we go into our upkeep, and that is the Reddit Rant. Normally, I would say we're not doing this week because Hoshi's not here to complain about something he wants banned. But we actually do have a Reddit Rant. And DrunkenDork has found some little spice. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through it, and let's rant about some nerds online. So we have something here from Stax Rockman off of the Magic Arena MTG Facebook group, and he writes, I never thought I say this, but historic best of one is just not fun to me anymore. I often jam best of one while I have downtime when working because I rarely have time to sit through best of three during that time. Historic best of one used to be a lot of fun when lots of random types of decks were running around, but now the format has almost exclusively become creature rush strategies. It's basically either you're running creature rush or you can clear the board by turn 3 and potentially 2 times if needed by turn 5. It feels so stale to me. It's mostly all angels, elves, Gruul, goblins, and mono red. Rarely do I experience a fun interactive game there anymore, and more often than not, opponents just concede once you clear their board. It almost feels like no one wants to play Magic in that format now. I am not a best of one player, and I actually completely agree with what he's saying. This is why I don't like best of one. It is too one-sided. I am best of three all the way, all day long. I think it's the far more superior competitive format. So, Stacks Rockman, yeah, you're ranting a little bit, man, but I mean, I completely agree with him. So, what about you, Drunken? What do you think about this rant?
So this guy's an admin on the historic or on the arena, Magic Arena MTG. I think he might be an admin on the historic Reddit or Facebook page too. But yeah, I've seen some of his stuff before. He's a really good player. You know what? I agree with this a little bit, but I also disagree with this. Yeah, it's definitely, when you play this opposed to best of three, it's definitely like by turn 3 to 5, if you're winning or not. And like, if you're not going to win, you concede, because it's really just it is a different format completely almost. And so I get why this person, why they don't like it. Because like, it feels a lot more like Hearthstone to me in best of one, right? Like, you get that feeling, right? Like,
yeah, I agree.
You're just trying to get in, get that win, or, get that game in as quick as possible and then move on to the next one. That's really what best of one is about, It's just about, like, just getting those games in. And yeah, this is definitely a little ranty, and I'm sure you are a fibber, sir. I'm sure you are absolutely going to be playing best of one again, because it's better than playing Hearthstone, or it's better than, I don't know, doing many other things that you could be doing in like a 5 to 10 minute period of time.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I will say I completely agree with that, because that's exactly what Wizards did, right? They made best of one standard and historic and whatever else they put in to compete with Hearthstone and pretty much just destroy it, and Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever online card games there is. And yeah, that's essentially what it is. You want to get a quick game in, you play best of one. But if you're going to complain about it, right, like, well, come on. I mean, people don't have much time, right? Like, this is like he's saying, on work, or when you're on the shitter, or, you're on break, right? Like, you don't have much time to play, so you're pretty much going to play Creature Rush, right? So, I don't know. Get into best of three. It's far superior. I love it way more. So, do you have anything else?
Nope.
All right. That is our Reddit rant, but stay continued, because we actually have another rant later in the episode. But Stacks Rockman, you are a ranting psychopath, and we love you. Moving Absolutely. On, we go into our draw phase, and that's where we talk about what Magic formats, or what have we been doing in the world of Magic this week. So, Drunken, take it away. What have you been doing in Magic?
So Magic this week, it's been really historic centric on Arena, and I love it. Of course, we're a historic podcast. That's literally the only format I play on there is historic, or, historic brawl, of course. But yeah, I did the historic Shakeup. I've been doing that. Super fun. It's nice to like build decks to like fight, that normally are really bad in the meta, right? Like, with the cards that are generally in there, but with the cards taken out, like, some of these decks perform a lot better, because, it's a triangle, right? Like, rock beats paper, or rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, paper beats rock type of thing. And, when you pull something out of that equation, then it really, it messes up like that cycle, and you can just add in, you can play a little bit more jank, which I love, of course. And yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun with it. And then, of course, I did the Artesian Historic, which I love Artesian. It's like, it is one of my favorite formats. Every time they bring it in, I play it. I like Standard Artesian, but I love Historic Artesian. And yeah, I loved it. I made this super sweet blue-black graveyard deck where it's all about self-mill. And I just mill the shit out of myself, and then I'm returning shit out of the graveyard. And, with that new Zombie Lord, I have that in there.
Nice, yeah. Zarfi or something like that.
Yeah, along with, Stitcher Supply or whatever the fuck his name is, and some other zombies. And then, of course, I have that human, when you bring it out of the graveyard, becomes a 5/5 demon. Of course, I have that in there. So the deck has been performing. It was performing pretty well in there. I won 3 straight games in a row. Got all the achievements of the Artesian, event, and then I lost like 4 consecutive games after that. But overall, I think it's like a 60% win rate, which is pretty good. And I had a lot of fun with it. I wish they did stuff like this more often, but more on that later.
Yes, but for those who don't know, why don't you explain to us like what is Artesian? Because maybe some people don't even know like what that like rule change is.
Oh, it's just everything in it has to be uncommon or commons. That's it. No rares, no mythics. So it's really like Pauper, but you get to add uncommons into it, and it's really fun. I really like Pauper too.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's a much slower format, but it adds, you can do a lot more jankier things because of that, I believe. You're not trying to win by turn 4. You're generally winning by turn like 6 or so. There are a lot of mono red in it, which is scary, but as long as you have a little life gain, a little like hand disruption or like board disruption, you're good to go. It's super fun.
Yeah, I agree, and I like that Wizards is doing this, putting this into Arena. I really like these like little cool fringe formats, these like little rule changes, like like what we do with tiny leaders and stuff like that. I think they shake it up. They open the doors into new players coming in. A lot of people who are like old school and play old school Magic, but don't necessarily play like power creep kind of cards. This is like a good like entry level. Or if you just want to play some games, you don't have the rares or mythics, so really cool, really like that for them. And for myself, same thing. I was doing Historic Shakeup. I was trying to climb the ladder, and I mean, I've been saying this for a few weeks. Fuck the shuffler. I hate it. I have no idea what's going on. I literally cannot win a single game, and it's like I've said this time and time again, and chat, if you're listening, everyone out there on YouTube, and if you are listening on wherever you get your podcast, please follow us on YouTube so you can chime in, because I want to know seriously if this is happening to other people. But my opponents will always have a god hand. I will have a pretty decent hand, or what I think is like a really good hand, and then they always have the exact answer every single time. Every single time. I feel like I'm always 2 or 3 steps behind, and then I end up playing like these 30-40 minute games because I'm not losing, right? Like, it doesn't validate conceding, but I just never see it. I either see lands or I see like the exact worst spell that I need at the time. And I don't know. I know that happens in Magic. I know like that's getting Magic the Gathering and all that stuff. But this is like times 10, man. Like, this is getting a little ridiculous. So a little complaint on my end. But yeah, I mean, I'm still having fun with it. I really love Historic Anthology 4. I really love what it's doing for the meta. And I mean, I really like the future of it, but it's just, I guess, Arena itself is kind of pissing me off. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I hope like people like have other problems with the shuffler, or I hope Wizards like addresses it. Like, do you have problems with it at all?
I mean, I think I suffer the same that like a lot of people do, and like a lot of people's complaints are is like, people make memes out of it all the time. It's like you draw 7 straight lands, and like, or you draw no lands, And like the fact that that happens so much is a little frustrating. Like we talked about this before briefly, but you know, I don't know if it's just because like there's no way you can turn out this many games like generally, right? Unless you're pro and you're like testing with other pros and you guys are just playing game after game after game. But yeah, sometimes the shuffler does definitely seem fucked up. It's not as bad as like for me as you say it is as it is for you, but I definitely notice it. It's like, why, you know, how am I drawing 7 lands in a row, you know, fucking 2 games in a row? Like it doesn't make sense. And it's not, statistically, it's like very improbable too, because like a lot of my decks in best of 1 are like 20 lands, you know, so the odds of drawing, you know, 7 of my lands, that is almost 50% of my lands in a row is like, it's unheard of. So
yeah, it's completely ridiculous, man. I don't know. I guess I'm just going through that bad luck, I guess, with Arena. But like, I'll literally have games. Okay, I had this one game where it went to game 3. Somehow I won game 2. Each of those starting hands, 1 land. 1 land. And I'm like, all right, mulligan. And the third game, I mulled down to 4. Like, and I noticed that too. More often, I'm mulliganing like constantly because, like, I end up having to keep like 2 land hands, and it's not even like a respectable keep. But because I'm just so scared of getting screwed again, you know, I'm like, I can't like mull down the 5 to 4. Like that's, you know, it's so bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, getting a little ranty. But let us know in the comments below, seriously, because I really do want to hear from you guys. And if you haven't already, please join our Discord channel. We'll go ahead and post everything in the descriptions below. We have like a chat there. There's like a few of us, you know, we're all talking about cool stuff. And we really love to hear your ideas. And I would personally love to hear if you guys are having problems with the shuffler in Arena. So moving on, we're going to go into our main phase 1. So we've done like a couple things. We shift the show as the show progresses. We change, and along with it, we're hoping that we change for the better. Something that Mythwind, one of our followers on Discord and you know, everywhere else on social media, has mentioned to us was something a little bit more on the metagame side, something a little bit more on the competitive side, something that a lot of Magic players call the gauntlet side of things. You know, a lot of people want to play to win, and Fringe is cool and all, and doing these like cool little fringy decks and everything, but if you are more on the competitive side of things, this is going to be that phase where I discuss that. I myself am a best of 3 player. I used to play a lot of tournaments alongside with DrunkenDork, and I am competitive all the way. I don't typically like playing Fringe or Jank. It is fun to play, but when I'm trying to rank up, you know, the end goal for me is to always try to reach Mythic. So best of 3, highly competitive. That's where I believe I shine out of the 3. And so I'm going to break some things down. In future weeks, I've decided that I would like to do tier lists. I think tier lists are very important. It's a really good visual for everyone out there to see which decks there are and how I will order those tier lists. Could be pretty relevant as well. I'm thinking I'm going to do it on the 3rd week of every month, except on a month that has 5 weeks. So like, for example, March has 5 weeks this month, technically. So next week, I'll go ahead and post a tier list, because also Historic Anthology 4 is still kind of developing. The meta is still kind of like coming forth with. So stay tuned for next week, as I'll be coming out with a tier list, and do so every 3rd or 4th week of the month. But for this week, we're going to talk about what is developing and how the meta is shifting. So I found a really cool article via MTG Arena Zone, and they talked about the historic metagame thus far and which decks are usually going to be seen within the Mythic rank level. And something that I actually agreed with that I have seen is blue-white control being consistently more competitive. It's a deck that I've been talking about for quite some time. All 3 of us have been talking about seeing control a little bit more often. With Uro now gone, Control now has its time to shine, and they already had like a really nice, like strong list. But there was a card that I've been seeing, as I mentioned, and I'm glad this article mentions it too, and that is Release to the Wild. And that is 2 colorless, 1 blue for an instant at rare. Exile target non-land permanent for as long as that card remains exile. Its owner may cast it without paying its mana cost. So what's cool about this card is the new dual modal flip cards, or like Valky, and the other side is Tybalt, or like Nicol Bolas the Ravager, where you get Nicol Bolas the Planeswalker on the other end, because you can actually cast that more expensive side for free. And that can be pretty good. So really good for control, really good to get that, like those like planeswalker strategies out there, or some like really strong powerful effects. So that's blue-white control, but some other decks that I've noticed that I've seen quite a bit on the ladder are the Collected Company decks, one of which is a deck that actually Hoshi kind of pre-predicted. He did not necessarily mention green, but he did talk a lot about Angels and how he completely believed that Angels would be tier 1. And he's absolutely right. It is. But with green. So we see a lot of Bant Angels. Bant Angels seems to be the list. And I completely agree with that. Bant Angels is completely out of control. It's super powerful. If you let them do what they're doing, they're pretty much unstoppable. It's one of the most powerful Collected Company lists I've seen out there. Wouldn't you agree?
I haven't messed with Bant Angels much. Recently, I haven't been playing any best of 3, and I'm assuming you mostly see this in best of 3, because in best of 1, going 3 aggro, 3 color aggro, is kind of, I think it's a way riskier actually in best of 1, and so like you still see Selesnya Angels is like the big one. Which, if you haven't seen, I have a Selesnya Angel, or Selesnya Life Gain deck that I play, and it has Angels in it. And video, I mean. And it's, dude, that deck performs so fucking good. It's like, ridiculous in the best of 1 format.
Hell yeah.
But no, Bant Angels, I have read about it on the Historic Reddit, but I have not played against it once. And I play a lot of fucking Historic. Mostly, like I said, though, best of 1 recently.
I really like it. I really like the lists that I've seen for Bant Angels, and you are completely correct. It is really difficult to make 3-color decks, and something I mentioned on past episodes, and be sure to check out those episodes, because I go in a lot in depth about strategy and core ideas when you're deck building. I mean, we all do, but something I've talked about specifically when you're doing 3-color decks is the 3rd color needs to be literally a splash. You should be 2-color centric with a single color splash. It's like, for example, in Bant Angels case, you are in Azorius Angels deck, splashing for green only for Collected Company.
Yeah.
Some people play Yasharn in the sideboard, and I think that's also a valid card choice.
Yasharn is really good. That's a fucking sweet card right now, yeah.
Yeah, super good, and the fact that it's in the sideboard, you're not really breaking the bank here with your mana base and not getting things on curve and having too many colors. So Historic Bant Angels, definitely tier 1. If you want to climb the ladder and you really want to, outperform this deck, for sure. Now, the other tier 1 deck, and it's a deck that has stayed there for quite some time. It was not affected by Uro. It never was. It never cared. Was the Jund Sacrifice decks. These decks, if you guys have not seen them by now, they are insane. I mean, they're just so good and they're so powerful. How do you feel about the Jund Sacrifice decks?
Oh, I think they're amazing. Yasharn, it just like that's why I think that card is so good right now, right? Because it's Jund Sacrifice has a real problem dealing with it. It's an incredible powerhouse. Those decks are incredibly powerful. Like, they have the potential to just like wipe you out, depending on what you're playing. Like by turn 3, or turn 4, they're what you want to be doing in Jund, right? They're very mid-rangey, but in a way where they can be aggressive if they need to be, and it is they are sweet decks.
Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah, its core idea has not changed much. I mean, it's also a collected company deck, but its core creatures and its sorceries and like Claim the Firstborn and obviously the Witch's Oven with Cauldron Familiar, like that whole core, it's just so good. And as we keep going on in Historic and we get better cards recycling back into the format, it's just going to get better. So this is a deck that is going to stay. So if you want to play some old school strategy that has stuck around since most of Historic's iteration, or at least since Witch's Oven has been in, definitely take this deck to the ladder. It is a tried and true proven strategy. So, like, tier lists, yes, I do want to talk about tier lists, but I don't want to do it this week because I want the meta to develop a little more. So, like I said, I do want to do a tier list next week. But, as I said, Angel Life Gain, Collected Angels, whatever you want to call it, and Sacrifice, Jund Sacrifice, definite tier 1. Blue-White Control and Gruul Aggro. I don't know. See, this is why I want to do a tier list, because I think the two decks that I just mentioned are probably tier S, and Blue-White Control and Gruul are tier A, because they're not bad decks by any means, and I don't know if I would call them like tier 1.5. They're still insanely strong and powerful. I've already talked about Azorius Control, but for Gruul, not much has changed there as well. Usually it's like a numbers kind of game. But one card that I did talk about in a past episode that has been showing up is old Arnie Broken Bow. A Broken Brow, I should say. So that card has been seeing some play, and there is some lists on the Mythic ladder that have been playing it. So pretty much it's just like a numbers game. It's like what creatures are you shaving off to add whatever you like. But yeah, Gruul Aggro is still doing its thing, and I think it just does it the most effectively. And not surprisingly, its most efficient way of playing is with Collected Company as well. Just because like the creature base is just so powerful. So yeah, anything you got to say about Gruul?
No, sweet deck. I love it. I honestly think I disagree with you. I think Gruul and Best of 3 is still tier S, and I think I was just having this discussion on Reddit. I think it might be the best, consistently best deck in Historic Best of 3, because I think Jund Sacrifice doesn't play as big of a role against Blue-White Control. Like that is a bad matchup for that deck, I think. But Gruul is good against, I think, a lot of things. It is aggro, so it's still, it has problems, like all aggro decks have, but it's so powerful that I think it is, to me, it is the best deck.
And you're probably right. With what I said before in the draw phase, like, yeah, I'm like a little tired of playing some like janky jank stuff. So I'm actually going to take my Gruul list back out, my Gruul Aggro, not my Gruul Monsters list, and actually do some testing and see how well it fares against the meta. Because I need some W's, and Gruul's like my deck close to my heart. So yeah, time will tell. Time will see how these decks like shake up. And next week, I definitely think I'll have like a more refined, correct tier list to bring all you guys. But moving on, we have Historic Anthology 4. Do we see anything in the meta? Actually, yeah, we do. Mono Black Death Shadow. It's no surprise. Everyone was super stoked about Death Shadow. It's probably like the top card that was anticipated to be the best from Historic Anthology 4. I am super surprised at this Mono Black list. It's probably just the best way to go as opposed to two colors. I mean, I really liked Orzhov. I really liked Rakdos. I really like the Mardu, but maybe just for consistency and how much life you do lose, because it is such a quick format and a high damage format, maybe Mono Black is just the way to go. and you just like incorporate Death Shadow into like an already mono black aggro strategy. I know you said you haven't been playing too much best of 3, but what do you think?
I mean, I like it. I have been working with Death Shadow a lot. I really love the card, and I've said repeatedly I don't think it'll make a huge impact in Historic, and I still stand by that. Even though you see it a lot right now in like the games you play and it's impactful, it's like incredibly impactful, right? Because like you're like, oh shit, I just got hit for 20 damage on like turn 3, you know, and like that kind of stuff happens, but like it's about consistency, right? And I really think with something like that, you do want like a way to bring it out and attack with the same turn on the same turn, because you know, generally something that powerful doesn't stick around, and that's what I don't like about it in a mono black shell. But I also don't know what the fuck I'm talking about 90% of the time. So, you know, who knows? Yeah, like I do like it in mono black. I love mono black. It's like it's one of my favorite like types of decks to play. Mono black aggro is awesome because they're really never aggro. You know, when you throw 4 Thoughtseize in there, is that really an aggressive strategy? Kind of not really. It turns it more of like a mid-aggressive. And so, yeah, I do like it. I don't know if it belongs there. I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say for sure tier 2 at the most. It is definitely not tier 1 or tier S at all by any stretch. But if you're tired of the tried and true, so, you know, we had our tried and true decks. If you want something new, some new spice, this is definitely something I would also take in the ladder if you're in the lower ranks, because what's good with that is you get a lot of experience playing best of 3 when you're climbing the ranks. But, you know, time will tell. Maybe we get some spice. Maybe this deck is the one-all, be-all. But, yeah, with something like blue-white control, Gruul aggro, which does it, I think, better, and doesn't have the sacrifice of losing so much life. Yeah, little
I
hard
agree.
to tell.
Yeah.
Some other decks is, you know, there's a lot, but I would call this class like fringe class. It's not necessarily tier 3, but there's just so many strategies, and that's what's so cool about Historic. There is so many things you can do. And one of those is like Grixis Control. We have Mono Green Elves. We have Selesnya Company. We have Gruul mid-range, or like my version, you know, like Gruul Monsters. A more mid-range strategy utilizing Gruul and having just big top-end beaters. We have, of course, Mono Red Aggro using the likes of like Bomat Carrier. We have Rakdos Arcanist. And we have Orzhov Auras, which I have seen also become a little bit more popular, running away from the Azorius Auras and going more into Orzhov Auras. So, you know, yeah, they're not necessarily bad. I'm not going to go through all these decks, but I will organize them all next week. Every deck that I've seen, I'm going to go put in a shit ton of research and then kind of organize everything out as the meta develops. Because, like I said, with these like fringe kind of decks, it's just like a little overwhelming, right? Like that's what's cool about Historic. It's not necessarily 3 decks. I mean, you can play clearly almost anything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
it's a really vast format as far as like viable decks. I agree completely.
Absolutely. And these decks do not suck by any means. I mean, these people have all reached Mythic with these decks. So that's got to say something, right? Like,
Yeah.
So, you know, be sure to tune in next week. But that is going to be it for this phase. I don't know what to call this, but for now I'm going to call this Apollo's Wildcard of the Week and Metagame Showcase. So as I stated already with the Metagame, be sure to, you know, play around with some decks and have fun climbing the ladder. I highly encourage that you build those decks based on the colors that I've mentioned. Try doing it on your own, climb the ladder. And for the Wildcard of the Week, I suggest you get Released to the Wind if you like playing blue-white control. This card is definitely going to see a lot more play, and I think it's going to be a format staple going forward for control. So, moving on, we go into our combat phase, and that is the horseshit card game. And Drunken Dork's going to tell us how we're going to play.
Sweet, yeah. So, hi everyone, this is the Horseshit card game, and this is a game where I open up a pack of Magic cards, and this week it is, let's see, what is it? Hour of Devastation, which is relevant to historic format, and what I do is I pick out 2 to 3 cards from it, but then I also have a fake card, and it's up to this drunken idiot to figure out which one of these cards is fake. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. So I fucking don't remember Hour of Devastation at all, like when it was in Standard. That's a pretty sweet card to pull. Even I think I have like, so I'll show the rare. I got Nicol Bolas.
Oh, I was just going to say, Nicol Bolas is in that.
But this is a bad one. I think I have like 3 of these. I think
really?
like, yeah, I played quite a bit of draft of, I believe it was Hour of Devastation, and for some reason I always open Nicol Bolas, and I try to play it, and it's just bad. It's just bad in draft. Like, it's good if you can get that high, but like, you know, you know, I can never pull off the 3 colors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, quite difficult.
So I will go with that one. I'll go with that one, and then I will go with this one. Okay.
Sweet.
Are you... Oh, wait, no, I'm only going to pick 3. I'll go with those 2.
Cool.
All right, are you ready?
I am.
Okay.
Ready to lose.
Yes, sir. All right, so the first one is... Beneath the Sands. It is 2 and a green for a sorcery at common. And it says, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. And it has cycling too. It's a pretty sweet card. All right, the next one is Kindled Fury. It is 1 red mana for an instant at common. And it says, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. And then finally, we have Giru's Skirmisher. It is 1 and a white for a creature human warrior at common. And it says, tap target creature. And it has Eternalize for 3 white, and it is a 1/3. Those are your 3 cards this week. What do you got for me?
You know, normally I would say the third one that you said, I would say that's probably a real card because you messed up like on the pronunciation. But I think you're like a tricky trickster, and that might be an actual real name from Magic's past. So I'm going to go with that third card as horseshit. It is not a real Magic card.
Giru's Skirmisher. All right, buddy. You got it right this week. Nice, dude. Fuck yeah. You know, I was getting kind of sick of winning anyway. So.
Oh, is that it? It's the luck of the Irish. I got it.
Yeah, nice, dude. Yeah, so Giru something is a card in the set. I don't know who the fuck Giru is. People who know Magic, fucking lore probably know that, but my god, figure out some other lores to know because Magic lore sucks.
Apparently Hoshi knows like Magic lore and he reads the books all the time.
He says he watches the videos and he goes to sleep to them. Probably because they're so fucking obscure and like make no sense. Yeah, and yeah, they just put you to sleep right away.
They probably
but good job, Apollo.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yes, I won. Yeah, they probably have like, you know, like some annoying narrator too, you know, like in the time when Ob Nixilis was trying to touch Nicol Bolas, you know, like something dumb. Oh, I bet it's cringy as fuck.
Dude, do you remember when we got back into Magic in like 2013 and we went to the Magic store in Long Beach, California, and all the power was out? Do you remember this?
No.
Okay, so this is like we were just getting back in, and it had been like I think since 2001 since we played. So it had been a long time, over 10 years. And we were talking to the person, and they were telling us about guilds. But since the power was out, he had a flashlight on, and it was like super epic. He's like, yeah. And then the Demir Guild. You don't remember this at all?
I remember that.
Okay,
now.
Yeah. It was really
like talking
funny.
About Gruul, and Gruul believes in passion, and
Yeah. It was really epic and really funny.
Yeah.
At the same time.
All we needed was like some background music of like Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
or something like that. Like elvish music.
Yeah.
Well, that was the horseshit card game. Let us know in the comments below. Did you get the card right? White. Willy Wabbit. Let us know in the comments below, because I was right this week. Finally, I got another W. I don't have too many, so I'm definitely going to cherish it. But yeah, moving on, we go into our main phase 2, the Historic Shakeup discussion. Historic Shakeup. As DrunkenDork has mentioned a little bit earlier in this episode, Wizards has made some new events on Arena. Historic Shakeup was one of them. What is the Historic Shakeup? Historic Shakeup is where Wizards kind of takes the helm here, and they pre-ban some cards, and these cards are no longer allowed in the format, and then you can like kind of play in the event and get your wild cards and all that. But what's really cool about it is it makes like a really unique, diverse meta, and they've told us that they're actually going to continue this. So we're going to get 3 weeks of the Historic Shakeup. Week 1 was is going to, but started March 12th to the 19th. Week 2 will start on the 19th to the 26th. And week 3 will be the 26th, ending on April 2nd. So this week 1, the cards that were banned were Claim the Firstborn, Collected Company, Embercleave, Core Spirit Dancer, Muxus Goblin Grandee, Neoform, Solemnity, Teferi Hero of Dominaria, Thoughtseize, Tybalt's Trickery, and Witch's Oven. Pretty cool, like specific list, and I actually like it. I like it a lot. What do you think about these like card choices, the event in general? Like, what do you think about the Historic Shakeup?
I love it. So I'm gonna quickly touch on something if you don't mind.
No,
okay.
Not at all.
All right. So recently I was on the Historic subreddit, the MTG Historic subreddit, and I made a post, like my own little Reddit rant almost, and I'm just gonna read it real quick, okay? It's very similar to the Historic Shakeup, but it's not exactly the same thing. I said, hi all, I was recently having a discussion about Winota banning and Historic, and it got me thinking. I would love if Arena had monthly events where they would unban, unsuspend 1 or 2 cards in Historic at a time to see how banned suspended cards would be in the meta today. I actually think it would be even better if instead of just adding in, restrict the amount of copies you can run in a deck, they could also modify cards, for example, Field of the Dead becoming legendary, or add cards outside the format, potential future Historic Anthology cards. I am writing this because to me, it seems Wizards of the Coast is taking a lazy and thoughtless approach to its first all-digital format, or digital-only format, and is frustrating. I feel like they're not taking advantage of this fact when it could prove to be useful data and at the same time add more content. I'm sure this has been discussed before, but if it hasn't come up in a while. And Rant, what are all your thoughts? So even though this isn't the same thing, because what they're doing is they're banning cards instead of bringing cards in, this is kind of like around what I was talking about, because I just wanted them to have more like historic content where they would, shake up the format, right? But not like permanently, just have little events. And, although some people agreed with me and like they had like cool things to say, some people shit all over this suggestion, saying things like, yeah, no, people are confused enough about all the different formats. They don't need something else confusing them. I actually think that this is great. I think always having more content and more access to things you could potentially do with Arena is a good thing, and it makes me really happy because, like, sometimes playing the same format day after day can get a little stale. So it's nice to, like, have your brain, like, thinking, right? Like with these shakeups, they're banning cards that are, I mean, for the most part, they're huge in historic, right? Like you said, Witch's Oven, Claim the Firstborn, like those cards are really big. That basically just destroys the Jund deck. And like maybe before you brewed a deck, and like I said about the rock paper scissors thing, did I say this? I don't remember.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, yeah, like I was saying about the rock paper scissors thing. Maybe Jund was the bad deck for you with this like awesome brew you made, but unfortunately Jund's so big, and like that's where this deck faltered, that like now you can bring it in and you can play it, or you can test other things. And I just think this type of stuff is really, really fun. Even though it doesn't affect the ladder, it's still like I don't know, to me it just feels good to brew. Like that is one of my favorite things about Magic, is brewing, and like seeing my brews work, and like really seeing actually, this is like a numbers thing, but seeing how effective, something like Jund Sacrifice is in the meta, right? Because now you're making these decks that like, holy shit, I'm winning, 4-1 games with this deck, and it's because I'm not running into Jund Sacrifice anymore, right? So like, I just really like this kind of stuff, and I am glad they are doing it. This new next set of cards that they're banning too look really sweet. Do you know which ones they are? Do you want me to name them?
Yeah, name them. I don't know them. Okay,
so starting the 19th, they're doing Binding the Old Gods, Bone Crusher Giant, Brazen Borrower, Claim the Firstborn yet again, Ember Cleave, which is great, Goldspan Dragon, Lovestruck Beast, Luminarch Aspirant, Omen of the Sea, Showdown of the Skalds, Thieves Guild Enforcer, Tybalt's Trickery, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Hoshi's going to be happy about this one.
Oh, yeah. He's getting turned on.
Right? Valky, Urion, and Zenith Flare. Like, this is definitely, like, a bizarre group of cards, but, besides maybe Zenith Flare and, what was the other one that I saw? Whatever that red-white one is. Showdown of the Skalds. Like, all these cards are pretty consistently seen in Historic. So, yeah, I think it's a big enough shakeup to, warrant, like, maybe playing that Fringe deck that you were on the fence about, or that you were playing that was doing bad against, like, some of these, like, I don't know, Embercleave decks. So... yeah, I think it's great. I love it. I can't wait for this next set of cards to be banned on, let's see, the 19th, which is 2 days from the time we're recording.
Yeah. And something to like add to that, like to your Reddit post and like the people who made comments, like it's like pretty unfortunate that people just really couldn't see the bigger picture with your post, because you kind of like nailed it on the head with this one. The cool thing about Arena as opposed to Moto, it's dum-dum proof. They can change rules, and it does a lot of the effects and like the stack and everything like that for you. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can still misplay, but doing rule changes, eradicating cards just for an event only, or doing something going forward, like they can do it, and they did it, and it's fun. It's cool. Like, like this week one. I'm really liking, from what this list, all the banned cards, I'm really liking my Gruul mid-range deck, my Gruul monsters, because I'm not affected by it. I can actually take out Embercleave, and I can add in another Planeswalker or another like control effect. And then that week 2 list, that sounds really cool too. So yeah, completely dig it. I really wish Wizards, like, I hope Wizards keeps doing things like this, because in the new world that we live in. I'm not going to mention it, but it seems like online events, like for fighting games, competitive gaming, esports, that whole thing. Obviously, Wizards wants to be a part of it. Obviously, they need to capitalize it. They need to go forward with it somehow. And it's kind of clear at this point, Historic's the way to go. A lot of people like Historic. They just like it more than Standard. And, catering towards that, doing more events and like little showcases to get people in is a really good way as a business model to like solidify the format. And then, they make money, right? And then we get to play tournaments and have our chance to shine, right? So, completely love the Historic Shakeup. Was there any decks that you can think of for week 1 that you were playing?
For week 1, so actually, I did want to say that. For week 1, I was playing, so last week we did a budget deck tech on Mono Blue Snow, and that is literally what I was playing, and it performed wonderfully, and it was budget. There were 4 rare cards and 2 mythics in it, so it's super easy to make. Really good deck. The 4 rare cards are cards that are used in multiple deck. I think it was Brazen Borrower, and then whatever that blue Scryland is, whatever I forget what it's called.
It's Castle Vantress.
Yeah, Castle Vantress. Yeah. Brazen Borrower was the mythics. Castle Vantress was the rares. It performed really, really well. And then that new snow creature land. I loved it. I won majority of my games. Like, I think that deck is good, and I think that format is great. And I actually have some decks for the next one too. Did you play any decks specifically in the last one?
I played the Mono Blue Snow deck.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah,
I played it too. Yeah, because it fits perfectly. And that deck was completely cool to play. Going forward, if you want to play it now that week 2, by the time you're seeing this, Brazen Borrower will be banned. The suggestion I made was to play the Ikoria Octopus Mutate. That's like another curiosity.
A sweet card. I really like that card.
It's at rare, but take out the 2 mythics, the Brazen Borrowers, obviously you can't play them, and then put in that Sea Octopus, and I still think the deck will be A-okay and perform really well in that format. So
absolutely. And so going on with this next week, starting the 19th, I wrote down decks that are playable in the format coming up, and I wrote down Elves. Nothing is taken out from Elves. Goblins. Nothing is taken out from Goblins. Death's Shadow. There's multiple Death Shadow shells, and besides the Claim the Firstborn one, Shadow. Oh, and Embercleave, I guess. Besides those 2 cards, like, you can play black-white or mono-black Death Shadow. Auras is going to be good in the next one for sure. You can absolutely play that. It's one of the top tier decks in best of 1, and in the Shakeup it's going to be probably the best deck to play. And then finally I wrote, play a deck you brewed. Brew a fucking deck and play that shit, man. Brew one from scratch and then play the shit out of it and win some games. Nothing feels better than brewing your own concoction and then playing and winning. I love that feeling.
Yes, and that's something that we've been talking about on this show for quite some time. We highly encourage build your deck, and what a better, more confident way to build a deck than having these big power creep cards out of the format.
Agreed.
You can feel a little bit more confident with your deck building skills. Really take your idea out, and then that kind of negates the fear of going against these top tier strategies all the time, and then you could really get some solid experience with your deck, and then tune it and make a cool fringe deck for the ladder, whether it be best of 1 or best of 3. I'm completely digging it. I'm trying to think what deck I would make with this.
I mean, the good thing I think is Death's Shadow would be really good in this Shakeup, because what I've noticed with brewing with that card is Gruul aggro is you're like the worst matchup. I thought it was going to be Life Gain. I was like, Life Gain is going to be the worst matchup, but it's not. It's Gruul aggro, and it's because Gruul aggro can pump out so much damage so fucking quick that you know, like it's just hard to compete against, you know, because you're already losing life on your own, and then like having someone else swing in, you don't have enough blockers, enough stuff. So I think Death Shadow decks are gonna do well in this next shakeup.
That's true. Yeah. You know what? Now that you just said that, I think I'm gonna rebrew my Voltaic Brawler deck, Gruul Voltaic Brawler, and get in with that one punch combo. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I played with it and I did terribly. I didn't win a single game. I played like 10 games with it and I lost. 0-10. That was my fucking win rate with that goddamn deck.
It's a glass cannon deck for sure.
But, oh my god, yeah.
It'll be fun knowing that Ugin is gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that is the historic shakeup. Let us know in the comments below how you guys been enjoying the historic shakeup, and is there any other card suggestions that you want to see banned for week 3? Please let us know in the comments below. Give us a sub if you haven't already. Click that bell notification so that way you're updated on all of our videos every single week. And we're now streaming on Twitch. So you know, if you want to be part of that community, be sure to follow us on our Discord, and obviously everything we put up will be listed in the description below and floating on screen at the end of the show. Moving on, we go into our end step, and that is anything else we want to talk about if there's any time. Do you have anything this week?
No, nothing super exciting.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, as for myself, nothing really as well, except I am making a new song for the channel. I'm calling it those Mana Dorks. Title in progress, but it's gonna have something to do with us. But hopefully I can get the voice sample hint Hoshi that I need to make the track. It's going to be more on the dubstep end, so some really slap heavy bass, more on the dirty booty funk kind of side of things. So if that's your kind of thing, please let us know. And yeah, other than that, you know, other than making music again, just gaming. That's it.
Same.
Cool. All right. We're going to go into our cleanup and then finally our discard. Cleanup is just social media promo. Instead of blasting everything like I've already been doing every single week on this episode, it'll be shown all over. So you'll see it all over the screen. If you're listening on wherever you get your podcasts, please be sure to follow us on YouTube. Give us a sub. Click that bell notification. We really, honestly do appreciate it. And we've reached actually 1,000 downloads via our podcast. Yeah, so super stoked on that. So thank you for all you listeners out there who take us with you to work, or you know, on your workouts or wherever you're listening to us. We really do appreciate it. And then finally we go into our discard where we finish whatever we've been drinking.
Let's get to it. My favorite part of the show, always, really, you know?
The untap and the discard.
Absolutely. This is what I look forward to every week.
Well, you know what? Cheers to you, buddy. Cheers to you all there. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll see you all next week. Be safe.
Cheers, everyone. Ugh.